Hello high school orchestra. This is Skill Builder 4 and today we're going to start off in the sight reading book for string orchestra. So your homework this week in this book is numbers 8 and 9. And these are relatively straightforward exercises, so we're just going to talk through a couple of things and then I'm going to leave you to work on them on your own. So taking a look at number 8, the key signature has 3 sharps in it. That's the key of A major. And that's a key that we actually have spent a lot of time working on so far this year. So hopefully it's starting to get a little bit easier for you. But the thing that should be going off in your head when I say A major is G sharps. The key of E major has F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp, but G sharp is the one that we are not used to playing. So violins, violas, that's a high 3 on the D string. Cellos, that's an extended 4 on the D string. And bass, I know this is a pain, but you cannot play open G. You have to do a low 1 on the G string. Actually, no one can play open G, but as I'm looking through number 8, it doesn't look like anyone else has open G other than bass. But if you did, you couldn't play open G, it's a low 1. Other than that, number 8 is very straightforward in terms of rhythms and other things. Make sure you're using stars, checking out your dynamics and other symbols that might be throughout number 8, but that's all I have to say about that one. And then moving on to number 9. Now number 9 has no sharps and no flats in the key signature. This is the key of C major. Again, relatively straightforward, although there are a couple of things to look out for in number 9. First of all, at measure 9, you can see that the time signature changes. We go from 4/4 to 3/4. And it doesn't indicate that the tempo changes, so your quarter note beat is going to still feel the same, but it is going to have a different feel. We're going from having 4 beats in every measure to 3 beats in every measure. You still read everything the same, but you do want to make sure that you are noting that change. The people who it's going to affect most are the violins, because violins at measure 9, you guys have several measures, 8 measures of rest. And if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, you actually aren't going to come in on time. You're going to be late because you're counting too many beats in each measure for the rest. So make sure you know that these are measures of 3 starting at measure 9. There also are some very specific bowing directions you can see throughout, especially for violins and violas, but even a little bit for cello bass, that there are some double ups and double downs. Actually, it happens in the second half for cello bass quite a bit, and in the first half for violins, violas quite a bit, so it kind of flip-flops. So make sure that you are following the bowing directions. As high schoolers, I expect us to be able to do the right notes and the right bowing, and it looks so much better when we all do the correct bowing together. So number 8 and 9, make sure you have those down for the next day 1. And now go ahead and take out your vibrato worksheet for this week. It looks like this. It says the birth of vibrato on the top. Let me just put my sight reading book somewhere. There we go. Okay, so last week we did the vibrato readiness checklist. So last week I said we're not doing vibrato. This is just making sure that we don't have tension in our body as we are playing, because you can't have tension to do vibrato. This week, we are going to start doing some vibrato exercises. Again, we are not doing vibrato. This is something that could take weeks or months for us to develop. You are welcome to try doing vibrato in class or when you're practicing at home. Remember, last time I showed you what is vibrato and what is not. So just going up and down with your finger is not vibrato, but moving your hand in this motion to change the contact point of your finger as you're still pressing down, that is vibrato. That's the correct way. So you are welcome to try it. Some of you already know vibrato, but these exercises are an easier way to get us into knowing the motions of vibrato, but without having all of the components of it. So we're doing some sort of motion or something with our hand to help, but we're not actually doing vibrato yet. Now, if you already know how to do vibrato, these exercises actually will be helpful to you. I know I really would have benefited from these as a student. Looking back, I'm like, man, I wish I would have had these to do, because they are really great exercises to help you get the correct technique down. And honestly, I'm still kind of benefiting from it. I've really enjoyed going through them. And so we're going to start with number 4. Go ahead and grab your instrument. I'm going to get mine. You don't need your bow for any of these. The first one, number 4, is called Palmpats. Palmpats. So you're going to put your instrument up in playing position. Cellos, bass, obviously yours is like this, but it's the same idea. You're going to put your palm against this rib of your instrument. It's going to be best if it's this upper part of your palm, not the bottom. I tried it both ways. It works better with the top part. So palm up against the instrument. Again, cello bass, it would look like this. And then you're going to naturally just have your fingers fall where they would fall, but they need to be curved. Okay, you don't want them straight, you want them curved. Now what you're going to do is pat with your palm, that's why they're called palm pats, against this rib of the instrument without taking your fingers off. And you can see, let me get a little closer, my fingers are staying in this right spot, and they're kind of flexing, right? So this is the part that is patting. These are staying in the right spot, and they have this flexing movement as I am playing, okay? Or as I'm patting. They have some different rhythms you can do. Again, I haven't said this yet, but I'm going to say this multiple times. The purpose of this is not a rhythm exercise where I'm going to say, I got you, you didn't do the right rhythm. It's just to give you some variety in what you are doing with these exercises. So the first one is 1 E and 2 E and. 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 The next one, 1 and a 2 and a. 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2 and a. It's kind of fun to watch. It's cool to see. Maybe look in a mirror while you're doing this. Make sure that your fingers look like mine. C, 1 E and a 2 and. They recommend you do each of these 10 times every time you practice. We will do that in class. D, 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 and. 2 and. 1 E and a 2 E and a 1 E and a 2 and. So you can see with D, I'm actually really starting to, this looks like vibrato, doesn't it? Again, we're taking out some components that make vibrato difficult, but this is the motion that you should have with vibrato. What I'm doing is I'm pulling my hand back, right, and patting against the instrument, but my fingers, as a result, are doing the vibrato motion. Cello bass, it's the same type of thing, right? Okay, so moving on, I really like that one. Moving on to exercise 5, top taps. So we have palm pats and top taps. Top taps. Say that 10 times fast. So you're going to put your instrument up in playing position. You're going to basically slide all the way up like you're in the highest position that you can play in. Your thumb doesn't normally, except for in very advanced things, but we're not quite there, doesn't normally go past here. So you're going to kind of anchor your thumb there. And then you should be able to reach over and pat this part of your instrument. It's the same deal for cello. Cellos and bass, you might need to like reach your elbow over. Depending on how long your arm is and how big your hand is, it's going to be easier or harder for you to do that. I would say that of everyone in our class, I have one of the smaller arms, so if I can do it, most of you should be able to do this pretty comfortably. I will say, though, it is a stretch for me. So I have my thumb here, I'm going over, and they want you to pat, you can hear the sound, pat that side of, I guess it's a tap, the last one was pats. You're tapping the top of your instrument. Okay, you can see this is kind of a vibrato motion too. So now to make it kind of fun, step 2 says you can do it, or step 3 says you can do it with different names. So Jiminy Cricket, Jiminy Cricket. Nice loose hand and arm. It says to tap your teacher's name, Miss Allen, Miss Allen. Again, this is just to get you doing some variety in the way that you're tapping to keep it fun so it's not boring doing the same thing. You can do your name, you can do your friend's name. We will do some classmates in class when we do this. Go ahead and flip. There's more top taps on the back on the next page. This is step 4. So this one says that when you do these, you're going to do the rhythm, but there's a rest. And in between the rest, you're going to swing your hand back to first position and swing your elbow out a little bit. Let me read the cello one and just make sure it's a similar direction. Sometimes they are different. So cellos, you don't have to do anything with your elbow. You're just going back to first position, cellos and bass. But violins, you're going back to first, bringing your elbow out a little bit, and then swinging it back up. So it's sort of like a swinging motion. So we'll do a couple of these. Again, you don't need to get the rhythms perfectly precise. This is just to give you some practice. So the first one is 1 and 2, rest. 1 and 2. I counted that wrong. 1 and 2, rest. 1 and 2, rest. Okay? So it'll be 1 and 2, bring your hand back and back up. 1 and 2, bring your hand up and back up. 1 and 2, hand back and back up. Then we have triplet 2, hand back and back up. Triplet 2, hand back, back up. Triplet 2, hand back. I'm adding an extra rest in there, but to me that's the natural way to do it. Okay, you could be really quick, I guess, if you wanted to. Then you have 1 E and a 2. Ready, here we go. Back down and back up. Okay, we'll do more of these in class together. They add 5 notes in a beat and 6 notes in a beat. You're just getting faster with the tapping. Again, without the instrument, this really is getting close to a vibrato motion. Moving on to 6. So violins, violas, you have 6 A, B, C, and D. Cello and bass, you have number 6 A, B, and D. They skip C. 6D is the same for all of us, and violins and violas, all of your 6s are very similar. Cello, bass, they're a little different. So you just got to stick with me for a minute so that we can make sure we're all on the same page. So I'm going to start with cello, bass. I actually am not sure I understand what they're saying or the point of 6A. They're talking about knocking on your string and going up. Maybe it's just to keep your arm and hand loose, but I'm okay if we skip that one. But I do like 6B. This is just for cello and bass. So you're going to put all of your fingers together in a point, right? And you're going to place your thumb, like here, like you're playing, and they just have you're not really pressing down, but you're just kind of moving your hand, rocking it in that up and down vibrato motion. Okay, so I think that's a valuable one to do for cello bass. 6D, like I said, for cello bass is the same as 6D for violin and viola. So watch what I'm about to show them because theirs is a progression getting to the same thing. So cello bass, still stick with me. Violins and violas. 6A, it's called string polishing, but this is the banjo version. So you're going to put your instrument kind of in rest position, but like really up. Normally it would be down like this, up, kind of like you're playing the banjo. Okay? And the idea is that you're going to take your hand and you're going to slide up. I would slide up as far as you can comfortably. My thumb, again, stops here, so I personally cannot get much higher than this. But if you can get higher, go ahead. So you're moving that thumb up and down, or moving your hand up and down, including your thumb. One thing to note is that I am not pressing on the string. So for this exercise, you are not going to ever be pressing down on the string. For vibrato, you do press down, but for this, you don't. So what you're going to do is gradually get smaller and smaller and smaller. Eventually your thumb is going to stay in one place, like this, but your hand is going to keep moving. Okay, again, I am not pressing down. I'm just sliding my finger up and down the string polishing. Okay, so that's 6A, the banjo position. Then they have you do it in what they're calling the shotgun position in 6B. If you've never shot a shotgun, it goes on your right shoulder like this. I hope no one walks in on me while I'm doing this, but it goes up against your right shoulder. So you're going to hold it up like this, and you're going to do the same motion. They're getting you, as you can see, step by step closer to having it in playing position. So you're going to do it, get smaller, 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 lock that thumb in place, and then just have your hand moving, not pressing down, moving back and forth. Okay, the next one is shotgun left. So this is if you're shooting a shotgun incorrectly. It's on your left shoulder. Okay, don't do this. You won't do well if you hold a shotgun like this. Okay, so we're going up, going up. It's a little. I can't get quite as high when I'm holding it like this. That's okay. Get smaller and smaller and smaller. Anchor that thumb, and now it's just the hand moving. Okay, and then last but not least, and this is cellos where you can join us in class when we do all 4 positions. You obviously do not, and cellos and bass, you obviously do not have to hold your instrument like a shotgun. You're not going to be able to do that. But now we are back in playing position for everyone, and we're going to do the string polishing. So all the way up and all the way down, moving our thumb, moving everything with us. Get smaller and smaller. Anchor the thumb, and now it's just the finger moving. Okay? So, like I said at the beginning, this is not vibrato, right? But this is really close to the motion of vibrato. All you have to do now is put your finger down. See, I went from, you can hear it, you can hear this. Put your finger down, It's the same motion, but with your finger anchored. And the way my finger is moving is just like the way it was moving with these palm taps. Do you see that? So all of these exercises are teaching you a component. They're getting you trained for a component of vibrato, but you're not actually doing vibrato yet. Like I said, if you would like to try it in class, feel free. But if you're not ready yet, that's okay. We've only done a couple of weeks of this. It sometimes takes a while. Everyone learns vibrato at a different speed. I will tell you, I was very slow to learn vibrato. I don't think I learned it until I was in 9th or 10th grade, and a lot of my classmates had it down before me. Obviously, we're in high school. That's because we're starting late. My goal is in the next several years to start doing this in middle school. So that way people come into high school knowing it, but you guys are kind of the trial to see how we do with this. So work hard on these exercises. The more you do them, the easier it will get, the more natural it'll feel with your hand. Starting next day one, we will focus on these exercises in class. So have a great day, and I will see you guys in class.